Well, I made one very small change today and it had some pretty big results. Pretty happy with today. Hey, fellow traders, it's Black Coffee Trader. It's Friday. It's time to do the daily recap on how today went. And yes, made a small change. I'm going to just dive right into that first. Well, let me just back up a little bit. First of all, had a good nice green day again, copy trading all my accounts. Kind of getting back to that. I do like that better. It keeps me from taking quite as many trades, but up 125 per account. Not a big day, but nice bounce back green day off after the red day yesterday. So let's dive into what I did to the change I made. I think that'll explain things a lot better, and then we'll go from there. So this was the previous ATM that I had. The previous three contracts, just this is, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different contracts, and really I'm risking $150 per trade. That's my risk. And so the previous the ATM I had set up was I would take 2 contracts off at 1 R. So in other words, if I'm risking say 20 points, my first contract or my first target is 2 contracts off at 20 points or whatever that point happens to be. But in this case, 1 R. So I'm taking 2 off at like $50 for a $100 profit. And then my second target is all the way up at 3 R. Or $150 profit. That's the way I had it set up. And then I had a break-even stop at half R. So in other words, halfway up here, right in here, this stop moves to break even. And what oftentimes happened is I would get a move up to somewhere in here. It would come back, stop me out, break even. I'd have a couple dollar or a dollar or whatever losing trade because of commissions. No big deal. I've also had many times where the trade has moved in my favor and it's gotten close to my target and then came back and stopped me out. There's also been times where it has not hit the break-even stop, where it hasn't triggered that and obviously get stopped out for $150 or unless I kill the trade. And one thing that I've learned about myself is I have a very difficult time adjusting targets once I have an ATM set. When I see a trade and I see a target, I want price to hit it. It's not a right or wrong thing, or it's just something that I mentally have a tough time taking a profit target and moving it down and taking it off. I want it to hit that. It's just how I'm wired. And again, that's probably a bit of a flaw, but I recognize that about myself. So the trade potential, if I hit this one and this one, is 250. So the change I made today was in just kind of thinking through yesterday, what happened and, losing trades, et cetera, I decided to change this to more of a percentage basis. So I'm risking 150 and I decided to take 1 contract off at 20%, no matter if I'm in with 2, 3, 4, 5 contracts, well, it doesn't really matter. If I'm in with more than 1 contract, I'm taking 1 off at 20% or $30. So that $30 varies, or it's pretty much, 60 ticks on a micro. So that's where my first profit target hits. My break-even stop does still trigger at half R. So if I'm risking 20 points, for example, it's gonna trigger at 10 points. Most of my trades on like the NASDAQ are like a 3 contract trade, I think is like 37 points or something like that. So it would trigger at about 18 points. So what I'm doing is I'm getting to this $30 or getting 1 contract hitting oftentimes at about the same time as this break-even stop is triggering, to where it triggers and moves this stop up here. And sometimes it hits this and then that break-even triggers. Sometimes the break-even triggers and then this hits. Depends on how many contracts I'm trading. But in any case, I'm looking to de-risk. And if I hit that and it doesn't move the break-even stop and I get stopped out, now all at once, instead of risking 150, I'm only risking 100 minus the 30, so I only have a $70 loss. And the other thing too is, if I get this profit target hit, my break-even triggers, I get stopped out, I've at least got my $30. I've got something out of the trade. And I really like that. This is fairly simple. Usually I can hit this. In fact, I did every single trade today. I did hit this, and every single trade today was only this profit target hit and then got stopped out break even. So had I not made this change today, instead of being a green day, would have been a red day. It would not have been a big red day, but it would have been a red day. I looked at all the trades, and this target, the way I had it set up on the previous ATM, would not have hit any of these. The one trade I would have been within about a point. Maybe I would have closed that one. There's a chance that I would have. But in any case, just going off the ATM strat, this definitely helped me to remain green today. So that was a big win. And again, it's more of it's a psychological thing. It's just how I'm wired and what I want to see. Also, the trade potential is pretty much the same, 255, 250. It's not that big of a difference. So I don't know. I like it. It worked well today. We'll see if it continues going forward, but pretty happy with it. So looking at the market today, we had this big sell-off in the pre-market, big dump. I was really tempted to take this short, but I've had such bad luck trading in the pre-market that I have a tough time trusting it, and especially the way I've been trading the last couple of weeks, I just didn't want to take that trade. So we just watched it, and I decided that, we'll see where that market opens. And obviously we basically reclaimed that whole move, reclaimed that pretty much that whole move from this pre-market sell-off this morning. So first trade here, break and retest of this 20,835 level. I was a little bit hesitant to get in it. It was early in the day. I had these wicks coming in. I should have entered off of this wick right as this candle started forming green. I should have jumped in there. Had I done that, I might have gotten a little bit more out of this trade, but as it was, I got my 30 bucks, got stopped out break even. This is the one where the former ATM would have been somewhere there. So I may or may not have been able to close that, but second one, we just continued to reject off this 21,000 area on the NASDAQ, and we were getting rejections across ES, we're getting rejections across the Dow at this very same area. In fact, I took this trade a little bit earlier. I think this might have been the second trade of the day on the Dow. We had a rejection of this 41,671 area, and this was a big rejection play from right in here. I think that's right here. This was this gap, or this top of this gap, and we had basically two low points there, and so that was why I had that level set there. Took that short again, one contract, stopped out break even. We really ended up just being a slow grind higher, and I was kind of shorting after this first trade, which was kind of against the trend looking at the big picture, but I was just trading my levels, and I just had no continuation. So those were the two trades on NQ, this long for 30 bucks, this short, and this one also got my first profit target. And it looks like this should have been a multiple profit target, but what happened is this candle dipped down, triggered my ATM, was triggered to break even. It pushed back up to green, basically took me out, and then turned red again. So we had a lot of this today, candles that were very up and down, and it was just very tough to get a nice move, at least on my ATM strat. But again, two wins. We looked at the YM trade, the Dow trade, again, that one as well. I love this rejection play. Had to sit through this. I had my stop, basically right above this level, and got that first profit target, and then got stopped out break even. So 30 bucks there. And then the last two trades were both on ES. Again, this is that same area. We had all three of these indexes were rejecting these key level areas. 5815s on ES, the 41, whatever it was, 671s on the Dow, and the NASDAQ was the 21,000. So we were just continuing to reject that. Took this short here, also one contract. This one I actually, I would have just been stopped out break even, but I actually did move this target and took something off. And good thing I did. Again, if I would have just left the stop here and not had this ATM trigger to go break even, I probably would have got some out of that trade. I may have gotten some out of some of the other trades, but I have found that for me, this style works best, and it keeps me from getting stopped out on a trade where we get into profit and it doesn't, I don't take anything, and it comes back and stops me out. That is something that puts me on tilt. And so having this break even to where it goes break even once I'm at a half R, it really helps me. It avoids that from happening. I do get stopped out break even, sometimes, and that's okay. But again, going back to this ATM strategy, setting this to where I'm taking something off at 20% of what I'm risking, so I get something out of that trade is very, very good for me. For me, it is. So Anyway, that's that trade. And then the last one that I took was a short here off the 58.35 area. That was something I had in my trade plan for today, is if we get here looking for a rejection play. Did get it, but we rejected it right down to the daily 100. And look at how this daily 100 held. I was really, really tempted to take this long and this long, but we were just kind of choppy and I didn't trust it. I mean, I wanted to, and maybe I should have. I mean, these were trades that, I could have gotten, the $30 out of, could have gotten a little bit every time. But again, there was no continuation move, but this daily 100 SMA really held up well. And that's really where we bounced, took me out there. And then we just kind of chopped around, and yeah, we ended pretty much right around this level end of day. So, but again, I am just happy that, I was trading my plan, didn't get any continuation on any of the setups that I got, but I did walk away with profits. And had I not made that ATM change, today would have been another red day. And instead, we flipped it to green, which was great. Very happy with that. Here's today, 753, all winners. Yesterday we had all losers. Today we had all winners. They were just very small, 25 bucks a piece on average. But we did end up with a decent week, still a red week, trading 3 days. Basically, this was really a meaningless day. The big red day yesterday, I think that was the big, we had a big one here on Tuesday the 6th, but it was a pretty bad red day here yesterday. But anyway, kind of sandwich it between two green days. So hopefully next week after the holidays, we can finish the week on a green note. So I'm happy with that. And let's look at this week. What are the stats for this week? This week, down 700, 65% win rate. That's actually pretty good for me. That's a pretty good win rate. Average win-loss was pretty bad because of yesterday. We had that one big trade, $500 loss that really skewed this. Yeah, anyway, that's that. So there you have it. That's the recap for today. Again, I'm happy with where I'm at with the ATM. I'm happy with my strategy. It's just refining those little things and understanding what works for each individual person's mentality, their psyche, how they look at the market, what triggers you, what puts you on tilt, how do you avoid that, how do you protect your capital, risk management. That's really what it's all about. And I'm not saying that I have arrived. That's not the point. The point is just I study that a lot through my notes, through what's worked and what hasn't. And that caused me to make that tiny little change. And that very small change today made a big difference to the P&L. So happy with today. We'll be back at it next week. So just in closing, I want to say thank you for, again, following along, following the channel. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for using code BCT with Take Profit Trader and Apex Trader Funding, getting you the best deals that they've got going. Apex is just like 50% off right now, and Take Profit's like 30. They still have that 30% off and no activation fee. So you pass the eval, you automatically get a funded account. So appreciate those of you that use my code. Also of note, I should point this out. This banner is just now changing, or will be changing here in a minute, to my expenses for the year. They did increase some, and I didn't go buy a bunch of accounts. I was going through my expenses and realized I missed some My Funded Futures evals that I had purchased, I think, in January or February, and I missed that expense. So I put that in there. So we did increase our expense and increased our deficit, if you will, but hopefully we can get these accounts to pay out eventually here and get some money back on the positive side of things. So anyway, I'll leave you with that. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Have fun. And until next time, take care and so long.